Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Across the world, most nations want their citizens to be creative. Countries believe that if their people are more creative, they'll in turn be likely to be, among other things, better at problem solving, more entrepreneurial, happier, and more successful in life. If creativity is a valued attribute, then it follows that unless it is an inherited trait, it needs to be learned. While researchers disagree as to whether you can teach all aspects of creativity, there is sufficient unanimity that much is learnable. Most governments across the world recognize that, while creativity can continue to be fostered in the workplace, it also needs to be cultivated at schools. Joining us now to speak on empowering the minds of children creatively through board games is Uwa Saleh. Welcome to the morning show.
Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Even if creativity is inherited, it still needs to be developed. So there's really nobody who cannot do without these skills. But can you just talk us through what you do?
Okay, basically, for us at OSFI, we organize different things. So we go on school tours. First of all, the end goal is to engage the mind of the child. So we use different means. Board games is just one aspect of what we do. We have different things. We teach them, for instance, how many of us had a personal vision statement when we were growing up? Not many. So we teach them how to create the pictorial vision of who they want to become in the future. Then we also teach them on board games. We teach them the creative part of engaging their minds with board games and how it applies to real life scenarios. So for instance, let's take the Scrabble game, for instance. There's a man I admire so much. His name is Sam Adeyemi. And he wrote a book, Start With What You Have. When you're faced with a Scrabble board, for instance, and you have about, I think, 7 tiles, you are forced to create something with those tiles. So it is at that point you're taking a decision on, I need to make this thing work with whatever it is that is available to me. Sometimes you might be blessed with all consonants, sometimes you might be blessed with all, but basically it's survival skills. How do I engage with whatever it is I have currently, and how do I make it productive for myself in the future? Nigeria is blessed with a lot of things. I don't like to dwell on negativity, but I believe that problem solving is one skill that would help anyone, especially in this climate. So when you're faced with board games, for instance, you will learn how to solve problems. You would learn how to say, okay, you know what? This is what I need to do right now to get to where I want to go to. So board games is just one of the things that we organize. Annually, we bring in about 3,000 children. We put them in a hall, and they play to win the board games. So
yeah, a massive tournament.
Yes, it's very massive.
You know, and I genuinely think that here in Nigeria, we have some of the most creative people in the world. The unfortunate side is that it's not harnessed on, simply because of the stigma that's also attached to creativity from the very basis of your schooling years. You know, you're seen as one that's not smart enough or not taking life as seriously, and that is all false. And the notion is changing because now we have the idea of a 21st century classroom that people are being forced to adopt. But my question to you is, how do you feel the traditional schooling system in Nigeria today is really affecting the creativity of all people that pass through it?
Of course it is. First of all, right now, if we are very conversant with what is happening in the world, it's not all about academics anymore. A lot of companies are even dropping, they are saying you don't have to have a degree for us to employ you. So for us at OSFI, we want to believe that currently, with what we have, the current state of the educational space right now, with what the learning style is, you are not touching the core of the individuality of the child. So that's why we chose what we're doing. That's what we're doing it. So we are able to say, you know what, wherever you are as a child, at that point where you are, that's where we'll meet you. So if you want to become a fashion designer, for instance, or if you want to become a footballer, for instance, there are basic skills that you need to learn. But first of all, we'll teach you first, what are the things that I must do? In a classroom, a teacher doesn't have to come out to say, you have to go and read your book or whatever. Do you understand? Because that is what is obtainable. That's what we are teaching. You don't have to be taught that this is time for you to go and study. Yeah. What we do is we make you take ownership of who you are, and this is where I'm going. So you put down practical steps as to how you want to get there. So for creativity, it's good but you have to understand the individuality of that child for you to be able to harness that creativity from that child. Yeah.
Let's look at it from the parent's perspective.
Okay.
For me, I think board games are really important because there's so much emphasis nowadays on screen times. Children like all this PlayStation, TV, what have you. You just unplug and go back to basics, and you actually get to bond and spend time with your children. How do you, with the parents that sign up to OSFI, do you encourage them to carry on at home with the board games?
Of course, it's the parents that actually even register these children. And for us, we believe that screen time is good, but if you want a holistic child, you know, that bonding is very, very important. And one of the tools that we use for bonding is the board games. Parents are the ones that engage the children. And we also teach, because before I forget this, we teach the child how to overcome problems. So in Nigeria today, you see a lot of people struggling, especially when it comes to failure. They are not able to handle failure. So with your child, I remember there's a child that I know very well, you know, at first when he started playing the game, whenever he loses, he just goes ballistic. But now the parents, you know, they came to me and they were saying that when we do like practice games at home, he has grown to that stage where he's no longer, he's just 7. He's grown to that stage where he's no longer going crazy, he's not crying, but he's now focused on where did I miss this? So instead of looking at the problem from a place of getting upset and saying, I don't want to do this or whatever, or maybe fighting your opponent or like what we have here. So he's now looking at it. Where did I get this thing wrong? And what are the steps that I need to take tomorrow to get to, you know, the right answers that I want to get to? So for us, bonding time is it's part of why we're doing it. And parents are the ones that even encourage these children. And I know a lot of parents that have signed up their children for these games because they have seen the tremendous transformation that it has done for them, you know, in their other academic works that they do in school.
Yeah. And then while we're moving from this linear world to this exponential world of change, there are certain parts of the world that we're starting to forget, and we're seeing it a lot in children, but we really need to try and take back and harness. And one of those things is reading. You know, the day I got scared is when I saw a 2-year-old using an iPad so casually, and I said, okay, something is going wrong here. But we're living in a world where people are reading less, and reading is something that really does harness creativity. So does OSFI also encourage the practice of reading and try to reintegrate children into that culture that we don't see as much of anymore?
There is no one that participates in chess games, for instance, that does not have what I call spatial knowledge. When you say encourage reading, the very moment we started this tournament in 2017, a lot of children went back to learning. They went back because they saw what we're trying to do. Let me digress a little bit. Now, currently in the creative space, intellectuals are not really rewarded when it comes to creativity. So creativity, for instance, if you are in entertainment and all of those things, is easily rewarding. But you see, the reward for intellectuals, you know, it has really, I think it's lopsided now. There's a reverse reward house, and I'm doing a lot of things, and I come out to 60 million naira. I go to school, for instance, and I harness my mental prowess, and I come out probably with a first grade academic, what's it called, and I'm given a handshake and all of those things. So for us, it's not just about the games. It's about bringing back, you know, that consciousness that I can actually use my mind. So it involves reading, it involves critical thinking, it involves a lot of things. But the bottom line is, it is that your mind, you're beginning to use your mind to get creative, to get things that you...
Take ownership
of your results in life, you understand? Ownership of your results in life. It's very, very key. We can't keep pushing the blames on people to say, this is why I failed and all of those things. You need to take ownership.
This is what I was saying earlier about Prince Harry.
Honestly,
look what
this was our discussion.
Okay. Anyway, but not to digress. What exactly are the packages that you offer? For what age to what age? What can parents expect?
Parents, for us at OSFI, it's we started with a very wide range, so between 5 to 19. But now we've streamlined it between 5 to 15. And what we offer the children, beyond the board games, we teach financial intelligence, we teach cyber security and the use of the internet, we teach personal grooming. So there's what we call the ABC, appearance, behavior, and communication. We teach that. Those are life skills, social skills that they require to become whoever they want to be. So whatever space you want to play in, it's fine. But we want to just create a holistic child. So we teach that. Then we teach them how to create. I brought a vision board sample. We teach them how to paint their vision. We call it the vision board workshop.
Let's take a look at the vision board sample.
Yeah. So
yes.
we also teach all of those. Then we teach them, okay, I've mentioned financial intelligence. And of course, we now, the cherry on the cake, the cherry on the cake is the cherry, like this is one of the child's, I mean, this person is very, when you see it, you know that he wants to play in a lot of spaces. He's inclined to music, he's inclined to art, he's inclined to a lot of things. And so with this, it's very detailed. So when they see it every morning, no parent will tell a child, go and read your book, because he's seen where he has written that this is where I want to be.
Look at this one here. This is the one that gets me. He underlined strengthen and added and medical as well. Is that medical? Financial and medical. So he's even taking it out of context and applying it to himself.
So, and these were children that did not believe that they could actually bring this to life. So when we do this, they just see it clearly. And it now takes, so this makes you to take ownership of the results you want to get in life. So tomorrow when you see this and you are probably in the garden playing and you know that's supposed to be your reading time, you will not jeopardize that for anything. So for us, it's holistic. We're not just focused on just the board game. So we keep telling parents it's not just about the board. We also want to teach them financial intelligence. So if somebody comes and they say, okay, take 300 naira or something, you don't say you want to go and use it to buy something immediately. You think of savings. You think of, so we have banking institutions that come to train these children on how to start out, however little. The bottom line is start with what you have.
Yeah. Now, we only have a few seconds. I want you to say how parents can get hold of you. What's your website?
Our website is simple, www.osfi.ng. And for us to solve the problem, let me quickly add, in Nigeria, this good man said that it is not the strongest or the army that is the largest that wins a war. It is the one that has superior strategy. So we know how important it is. If we need to solve the problem of Nigeria, let's start from the children and engage their minds.
Thank you so much. Thank you.